everybody, welcome back to our episode of our podcast. Today it's me, Paula from Germany, and Ilze.
Hello everyone.
Today our topic is living with volunteers from different countries. So we both did an ESC and lived together with other volunteers who were not from the same country as our home country, which is very interesting, can be a bit difficult, but also enrichment experience, I think. So yeah, that's today our topic. And first, I think we should say where we did our ESC and what we did and with whom we lived, for example.
Okay, I can start with that. So I did my EVS experience in Sofia, Bulgaria, for 1 year. And I was living in not in the center of Sofia, but near center, and we were quite a lot of people in this flat. My project partner was from Spain, and at first we were living three of us, me, my project partner from Spain, and our flatmate, who was local Bulgarian. And afterwards we had two guys, lovely friends from France and from Italy. And afterwards, we had another Bulgarian living with us, who was a sister of my coordinator. She was living with us for 1 month. And afterwards, we had new EVSers coming, and they were two Latvian girls. And afterwards, a guy from Hungary. So we had a lot of internationalities in our flat. It was a really colorful year in that sense. What about you?
I can relate to this as well because I did a 1 year ESC in Hungary. I was working with children in a youth center and also into schools, teaching there a bit of German. And I was living in a flat in the village. It was a nice house, I would say, together with one girl. She was Italian and she was there for 1 year with me. But then mostly the other volunteers, they were like in Hungary for 2 months. So it was a lot of changing as well. So I even can't number all of them, I think. But we had, for example, 2 guys from Portugal, 2 girls from Estonia, 1 girl even from India, 1 girl from Uruguay, which was very interesting as well. Then from France, we had someone from Italy and the Philippines. Yeah. And a bunch of colorful people. I enjoyed it a lot, but of course there were also some situations which were very difficult. Plus, they were like 2 times volunteers who stayed in the village for 3 weeks, working, I think, in the school. And it was each time it was 11 of them. And also from Latvia, Estonia, Sweden, France, Portugal, Poland. It was very, very international, but I enjoyed it a lot. But contrary to you, we didn't have any Hungarians or any local in our flat. But I think this can be also very nice. So how did you communicate with the guys and girl from Bulgaria?
Wow, that is an interesting question, actually. With the guy, at first we were living with this guy who was actually a friend of our coordinator. He was super local, but he spoke in English, and he spoke very, very well. We had a lot of issues with this guy, I have to say, but I will not really get into that right now. But answering to your question, with the sister of our coordinator, actually she was one of our favorite flatmates because she was super easygoing, even though there was kind of a funny way of communication because she didn't really speak in English, just like some really, really basic things. Well, it was like really peaceful. She sometimes brought us some banica, which is like traditional bread in Bulgaria. and some sweets from bakery because she worked there. It was like she was there, but not really there. We didn't really see her much, so we didn't have to communicate with her a lot. But like the basic things we understood, and yeah, there was there was like no problem with this flatmate. But back to what you were telling, it was so interesting to hear that you had so many colorful people living with you. But can you name a number?
Yes, I counted once. I think in some they were like 23, like not at the same time, but like separated throughout the year. But I think in some it's 23, and it was very, very interesting also to get in touch or to learn something about the culture, even though I haven't been in the countries, so just in Hungary, but by from the people I got the like what do they eat normally and how they behave and what's their opinion on everything, what's going on in the world, which was very, very interesting. And of course, there were some people which were not so well going, and others a bit better, but it was a very good mixture, and we didn't have, or I at least didn't have any serious problems. We got along very well, and since it was mostly just for 2 months, it was quite nice.
So you could tell me about the advantages of living with volunteers from different countries, since you had so many.
Yeah. So what I really enjoyed was the sharing of recipes. This was maybe one of the best things. For example, the girl from India, she taught me a lot of Indian traditional food, how to cook. So still now, since I'm back in Germany, I still cook some of these Indian recipes, or also Italian, because I spent 1 year with the Italian girl. This is very nice. And also the other thing is, so I did my ESC just right after high school. So it was the first time I was living on my own, and to get the views or the opinions of other European youngsters on international topics, like, for example, the refugee crisis, or how are the Germans, which is also an interesting question, what people abroad always ask me. So just this cultural exchange, this was very enriching, I would say, because it gave me like the view, my own horizon. That was really, really interesting, I think. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Can you still cook any like Indian, Italian food?
So yeah, I noted the recipes. So yes, I have them in my small recipe book, and still sometimes if I feel I cook them, and then sometimes I send a photo like, hey, look, I cooked your recipe, which is really, I enjoy that really much. And also what was another advantage for me, mostly they were older. So I'm 20, back at the time I was 18, and they were mostly also 25, 29, something like this. And it was very interesting for me to get this more experienced view on life, on things, on studies, and so on. This was also very interesting.
Yeah, I would actually say the same thing about because our situation is almost the same. I was also doing my EVS right after high school, and I was always the youngest, and it was so interesting to see how other young people who are older than me are living their best life, how they are trying to find themselves again, let's say, because we are going away to discover what we like, discover what we want to do in life. But these people were mostly like kind of lost in their journey, and it was so incredibly interesting to see how they are doing it. And yeah, it was one of the advantages that it's okay to be lost, and it's okay to do it in any age.
It was also like a aha moment of me, that even though I used the perfect, nice English high-level words, nobody would understand me, because for everyone it was the second language. So it was a good level of English, I would say. But still, of course, some mistakes which were carried by all of us, like because we all had English as the second language. So I guess it was the same with you, didn't it?
Almost all of I would say that all except this Bulgarian girl were speaking in really good English. But when we first started to live together with my Spanish partner, the thing was that we were both like, we were trying to find a way how to communicate at first, because we were both, let's say, speaking in quite shady English. I mean, we found a way. At first, it was a bit challenging. We were like trying to find out which vocabulary we could use to speak about basic things. Like, I don't know. I don't even remember any examples, but once you learn English for basic conversations, you don't really think about that once you will start to live actually with someone, you will need another vocabulary. And that was like the hard point. What vocabulary do we use now? And basically, for the first month, we were saying, go take that thing and put that on that place. It was like kind of Pokemon language, but I don't think it's a problem. I think it's just funny thing we all go through.
Yeah, I agree with you. Also, me, in my first 2 months, I think I learned every word of the kitchen, because in the school, no, I didn't even know how to call a pan or something. But it improved a lot.
You know, who cares?
But were there any like difficult times or obstacles or maybe misunderstandings?
Well, I think, well, yes, of course. The biggest was always about cleaning. There are always people who don't want to clean, who don't do that. And then the others are like, oh my God, this person is not cleaning the flat and everyone else is doing. And why this prince or princess can do it like that? That was one big thing, but I believe that in all shared spaces, there is someone like that. And the other thing, well, we worked it through afterwards, but at first, when we started to live together, it was, I wouldn't say difficulty, but there were some misunderstandings and some, I would even say, fights about the space, how we are using the space, because in most cases, volunteers have to share their room, and we also had to share our room for the whole year. And kind of little things, like, for example, I don't like my curtains to be closed, but my roommate always wants them to be closed. Like, for example, when I come home from doing some work stuff, I want to spend the whole day afterwards alone in the room, but you have to share the room. So maybe I would go in the living room or in the kitchen alone. And I don't know, I am Latvian and I like to wake up in the morning pretty early and to cook nice breakfast and then do things. But for example, for my lovely Spanish partner, it was more like a routine to wake up really late and do all the working in the evening or in late afternoon. And at first it was really challenging. But then we found our way out of this, and we found our compromises, and eventually it worked. But yeah, I would say that at first, yes, it was an obstacle. What about you?
Yeah, I can totally relate to the curtain topic because like I had the same issue, but I prefer also the curtains not closed. But I was like not strong. I didn't insist on it, so mostly they were closed. But as you were saying, I think also the cultural background reflected a lot. For example, the girl from India, she was like, she lived in a big city, so there it was always noisy. So, for example, when we were all sleeping and she was getting into bed as well, maybe later than us, she was like not very quiet when entering the room. And so we all woke up just because of her entering the room, because maybe she wasn't that used to like being quiet because it's noisy in her home every time. But also small things like this that were mostly, or where I was thinking, oops, okay, maybe they have another habits or way of living. Also the cleaning topic, but actually this was fine, I would say. Yes, and rather the small spaces there, because our flat wasn't too big and we were sharing the rooms with 3 and 2, so it were 5. Sometimes also 6 in our flat. So every time also I like to have some quiet. Sometimes I mostly went out on the field because that was the space where I could be a bit on my own. So I would say this was maybe the biggest obstacle. And also the food, the groceries, how we share the money and so on. This was sometimes a bit tricky because everybody was or wanted something else, but in the end then we agreed or we found a compromise. So this is maybe good insight in a volunteer's daily life, because at least I think it's a very important topic, the flat where you're living when you're not working. And to come to an end maybe soon, I hope you, or if you would like to do an ESC, maybe not now because of the coronavirus, but maybe in 1 year, I guess it will be possible. Also, maybe some projects offer it right now. I hope we could give you a good insight of the daily life, and maybe in the end, we could share a funny story of our flat living, our common shared flat living. Can you think of something, Ilze?
I think one of the best moments that I remember. Okay, it was my birthday actually. It was not exactly my birthday. It was day or 2 days after my birthday. I came from Greece, and my lovely flatmates bought me a cake, and we were all of us. We were drinking some wine and eating this cake, and it was such a chill environment, because after having this nice cake eating in the kitchen, we moved to balcony, and in our flat we had 3 balconies, and I absolutely love it. And it's a wonderful summer June evening. There is a sunset. We have wine. We're all chilling and enjoying ourselves. We're having really nice conversations, all of us in the same place, which was almost never happening because some were working, some were traveling, some were, I don't know, doing something. And I remember this particular evening, we were all together. And it was just a nice memory. And I really, really loved it when we were all doing something together in the flat, because it made me feel like at home, like with my family.
Mm-hmm. That sounds really, really nice. Yeah. So maybe quickly my good moment. Also, at the moment, I can't think of a very funny story. But for example, when we were 5 of us, I think it was in the middle of, or maybe in the end of my ESC, we listened to some music, and suddenly there were one song. I even don't remember. It was Spanish, but everybody know it, also me. So everybody started to sing along, and then I don't know, the party began. It was very, very nice. And even though we came from different countries, different cultural background, we all knew this song and all really liked this song. And this was a very uniting moment. So I enjoyed this really much, and this stayed in my head for 2 years now.
Right. It's one thing I could say for sure for someone who is listening right now to this. I think that there's nothing to be afraid about in living with the other people from different countries, because even I don't think it would be the case, but even if you don't like people with whom you are living, or I don't know, someone's really messy, or maybe you like all of your flatmates, it's always a good option to get experience. And I don't think there's any better way to get this experience just by going there and living this. What do you think, Paula?
I totally agree. So even though, there might be difficulties, but the plus point is really enriching, and I learned a lot from it now, since I'm living now in a student's dormitory. My neighbor, she's also international, she's from France, and without this experience in Hungary, maybe it wouldn't have been so nice like it is right now. So I took a lot from it, and I can definitely encourage everyone to experience it by themselves. So that's a very nice closing word, I would say. So thank you very much, Ilze, for this very nice conversation.
Thank you.
And thank you, our dear listeners, for listening to this episode. You can check out the other episodes and follow us also on Facebook and Instagram. You can also listen to the episodes on YouTube. And thank you very much. You can already look forward to the next episode in 2 weeks. And until then, bye-bye.
See ya.